All right, folks, strap in. Welcome back to another deep dive. And a big hello to all our listeners and viewers joining us, especially from the Peace Project for All community. Thanks so much for tuning into these discussions. If you haven't yet, please do hit like on the Peace Project for All channel. It really does help us out. Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're really focusing in taking a magnifying glass to Genesis chapter 5. It might look like just a list of names, but honestly, it's packed with details, some pretty profound insights too. We're talking about the generations of Adam, from creation right up to Noah. Our main source here is Genesis 5, and we're using the 21st century King James Version. We picked this one because, well, it keeps that classic feel, but makes some of the older words a bit easier for today. Let's focus on the meaning, Our mission really is to trace this lineage carefully. Look the key people, those incredible lifespans, and maybe find some hidden nuggets in there.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here with genealogies like this in ancient texts is they're rarely just lists. They serve as crucial foundations historically and for the narrative itself. It's not just names, it's how they're laid out. It's methodical, establishing connections, legitimacy, and really setting the stage for what comes next. Genesis 5 is a perfect example of this very deliberate construction.
That's a great way to put it. They're like building blocks, aren't they? Easy to just skim past otherwise. So let's jump in. Genesis 5, verse 1. It starts off strong. This is the book of the generations of Adam. Very direct. And then it immediately echoes creation. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. And verse 2 adds something really interesting. Male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day when they were created.
Right, that collective naming is key, isn't it? Adam referring to both male and female initially. It stresses that humanity as a whole was made in the likeness of God. This isn't just about looks, obviously. It's deeper, reflecting divine qualities, maybe reason, morality, relationship, a unified start.
Definitely. Then verse 3 moves to Adam's own lineage. And Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness after his image and called his name Seth. Now, that's where it gets really interesting for me. That shift in likeness.
Exactly.
God's likeness, then Adam's likeness. Verse 4 says, and the days of Adam, after he had begotten Seth, were 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Verse 5 wraps it up. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Quite a life.
That shift you pointed out in verse 3, the likeness, it's subtle but theologically huge in this narrative context. Adam was made in God's likeness, presumably perfect. But after, the events of Genesis 3, the fall, humanity reproduces in that changed state. So Seth inherits Adam's nature after the fall, mortality, the inclination towards, missing the mark. It hints that the image of God is still there, but marred. And yes, that lifespan, 930 years, it sets the stage for these incredible ages we're about to see.
It really does. And after Adam, the pattern just rolls out.
Yeah.
We see Seth, then Enoch, Canaan, Mahalalel, and Jared. For each one, Seth in verses 6 to 8, Enoch 9:11. Cain 12:14, Mahalalel 15:17, Jared 18:20. It's the same formula almost. Age, when they fathered their main son, how many hundreds of years they lived after, mentions other kids, total lifespan, and then...
Maybe they died.
Exactly, and he died over and over. And these are huge lifespans, mostly over 900 years.
That repetition itself, it emphasizes continuity, lineage, maybe even a kind of stability in that early world as the text presents it. It's a rhythm. And the longevity, well, it makes you wonder about the nature of life back then, doesn't it? Generations overlapping for centuries. Imagine the knowledge transfer. It's kind of mind-boggling, really.
Yeah, it truly is. Think of the stories passed down. Okay, but now, brace yourself, because the pattern takes a sharp turn. The next figure is Enoch, and this is different. Verse 21, and Enoch lived 65 years and begot Methuselah. Okay, standard start. But verse 22, listen. And Enoch walked with God after he begot Methuselah 300 years and begot sons and daughters. His total age in verse 23, 360 and 5 years, shorter than the others. And then verse 24, the kicker. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. No, and he died.
Whoa. Yeah, that's a stark contrast. Everyone else gets it, and he died. Enoch doesn't, for God took him. That phrase just jumps out. It implies a unique destiny, a divine intervention. Later traditions, like you see in Hebrews in the New Testament, really latch on to this walking with God. They see it as exceptional faith, especially maybe in contrast to the time. So his end, avoiding death, it marks him out as someone with extraordinary divine favor. It breaks the mold completely. A different kind of outcome.
An incredible exception. Really makes you stop and think. Okay, so after Enoch, we get his son, Methuselah, verse 25. And Methuselah lived 187 years and begot Lamech. Then verse 26, and Methuselah lived after he begot Lamech 782 years and begot sons and daughters. I got to get this total in verse 27. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died.
Wow.
969 years. That's the record holder right there in the text, the longest life mentioned. It just pushes our modern understanding of lifespan to the absolute limit. He would have been alive, bridging so many of these generations leading up to Noah. Incredible.
Staggering. Okay, from Methuselah, we get to Lamech, verse 28. And Lamech lived 182 years and begot a son. And here's another really unique moment, not like Enoch's ending, but in the description. Verse 29. And he called his name Noah, saying, This same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed.
Then Lamech lives another 595 years, has more kids, and his total, verse 31, is 777 years, and he died.
That naming of Noah is so significant. It's not just he had a son. Lamech gives a reason, a prophecy almost, or at least a profound hope. He directly links Noah's birth to the struggle of humanity, the cursed ground from Genesis.3, the toil. Noah's name means rest or comfort. So Lamech is expressing this deep longing for relief from that struggle. It's really poignant, and it sets up Noah's future role, especially regarding the flood narrative.
It really does load that name with expectation, doesn't it? A glimpse into how they felt about their world. And that brings us to the end of the chapter's genealogy, verse 32. And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. That's the handover point.
Exactly. A concise but crucial verse. It sets the stage for the next major section of the narrative. These three sons become the focal point for humanity after the flood, according to the text. It's a deliberate pivot.
So let's try and summarize what we've just walked through, this deep dive into the generations of Adam. We saw that opening about being made in God's likeness, then the shift to Adam's likeness in Seth. We saw the incredibly consistent pattern, birth of a son, long life, more kids, death, over and over. Those lifespans are just astounding, mostly over 900 years. Then the huge exception, Enoch, walked with God, didn't die, but was taken. Completely unique.
Right.
And finally, Lamech's naming of Noah, embedding that hope for comfort from the cursed ground right into his name. It looks like a dry list, but digging in reveals so much about the narrative's perspective on early human history, struggle, and hope.
Absolutely. The precision, that almost mathematical quality. It highlights how important lineage and continuity were in the worldview presented by this text. These aren't just random details, they're foundational. They tell of a different kind of existence, maybe, long overlaps between generations, deep connections to ancestry. And it does raise a question, maybe for you listening. What value do you find in exploring these ancient family trees? What do they tell us about humanity's story, our origins, our challenges, maybe even our hopes today? Perhaps there's a specific verse or insight from today or even from our past discussions that particularly struck you. If so, we'd genuinely love to hear about it. Feel free to write your favorite verse or thought in the comments below.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Genesis chapter 5, the generations of Adam. We really hope exploring these patterns, the unique bits like Enoch and the meaning behind Noah's name, gave you some food for thought. And before we wrap up, a huge thank you once again to everyone supporting Peace Project for All. Your engagement really helps keep these conversations going. So if you found this discussion valuable, please do like, share, and subscribe to the Peace Project for All channel. Share it with friends, family, anyone you think might find it interesting. Your support is truly appreciated. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive.